Hello guys, welcome back to another episode on YBW where I'm going to be doing a tier list as you can see on here today. I'm going to be ranking every GTA game in my opinion. GTA I've played a fair bit on my channel. I've played GTA 5, 3, Vice City and San Andreas. But a fair few of these as well I've played it also. Not every game on this list I've played. There's probably a handful I've not played. But the ones that I've played, I'm going to be ranking through today. Just a follow up, I said I'm going to do more of these. The last one I did, of course, was ranking Tekken 2 characters. And yeah, just browsing Tier Maker every now and again, seeing a category that catches my fancy, and we'll go through it. So, I'm not going to make any more tiers to what it is right now. We got God tier, A tier, B, C, and D. I don't think any GTA game really below deserves to be below D. Because on average, Rockstar games are fucking amazing, particularly GTA games. So we're going to start with GTA Chinatown Wars, I think that is. And it's the first example of one that I've just not played. So I'm going to put it in D tier. I can't say anything other than that. I've not even seen this game played much. I think it was released on DS or something, wasn't it? Or like handheld stuff, so maybe like PSP or PS Vita. I'm not sure. Don't know too much about it, so it belongs there, unfortunately. The exact same, oh God, quite a few games at the start here I've not played. GTA Advance is also going to be in D tier. It's going to be lower. This was purely made for Game Boy Advance, hence the name. Set in Liberty City, which like the GTA 3 law, set in 2000, the year before GTA 3, in the same um, world as that trilogy with Vice City and San Andreas. But again, I didn't play it. I would guess it's worse than Chinatown was because it's older. I've seen a bit of GTA Advance played and it didn't look that great. It was kind of classic. It was a bird's eye view again, like GTA 1 and 2, bit of a nod to that. But unfortunately for these games that I've not played, they need to go in D tier. The exact same here with Lost and Damned. I would assume it's better than the others because it's a bigger release. Although it's kind of a DLC for GTA 4. However, it belongs in D tier. I've just not played it, unfortunately. A huge part of these games at the start of this list I've not played, so we'll get through quite a few at the start. GTA 4 I have played, but I've never played it through. This one's going to be the first controversial one. I think people might get triggered about this, but I'm putting it in D tier and right at the fucking bottom because unlike the others, I have tried it. I acknowledge GTA 4 probably is a great game. It's a GTA game. They don't make them bad, but I just couldn't get into it. Twice I've tried. Maybe I wasn't in the right frame of mind to play at the time. I do not know. I played for about a couple of hours each time, maybe like a night, and it ended up making you like go fucking bowling with Roman and stuff. And I was like, "Fuck this, man! Just let me play the game. Like, what's all this shit?" It looked a bit too dark, a bit too grey. I get GTA 3 does, and I love GTA 3. Spoiler alert for that one. But I don't know, like, I just couldn't get into it. Inexplicable. I feel like one day maybe I will try it and then just get into it, and I'm like, oh, what was it doing all this time? There was another time where I went to a friend's, and this is the first I ever played this game, actually. I was just playing it, like, casually, which is something I don't do a lot on GTA. If you've watched any of my playthroughs, you'll know. But I was just going about killing people, going on rampages, fighting with the police and stuff. And it did seem really good, and it was a huge step up from San Andreas in terms of graphics and concept, etc. But there's the only main series GTA game really that I just could not get into, never completed, never even got far because I just didn't want to. So sadly, it belongs in D tier there. It's very controversial. I think a lot of people would have this as their best GTA, but no, for me, it just wasn't that. LCS, first game on this list that I've played through. Actually, 100% of this game. Twice? 100% of this. Never played it on the channel because I just couldn't find a way to play it and record it. But it's a pretty good game. I'm going to put it in B tier, but pretty high B tier. It was a sidestep of the game, really. You have the main trilogy of the 3D trilogy, 3, Vice City, then San Andreas. And then you had two kind of sidestep games that were in the same universe, LCS and VCS. I think Liberty City Stories is better than Vice City Stories, in my opinion. I preferred it a fair bit more. kind of amazes me to say this because Vice City looks so beautiful now, but I kind of prefer the GTA 3 map. Portland, Staunton, Shoreside. I prefer Liberty City Stories map to GTA 3 as well. Not much more to say about it. It's a good game. It was released on PSP originally, like VCS, and then like VCS later on PS2. And it's one of the best PS2 games for sure. Moving on then to still want to be reasonably quick on this. There's not too many games. That's GTA London '69. Never played it, but it is. So it's got to go in D tier, unfortunately, like by default. I'm probably gonna put it down here. They're at the bottom, I think. Because it was released around the time of GTA 1 and 2. It was similar. It was bird's eye view, set in London. I am British, so definitely be down for that. But and I hope to do shit like that more. It's the only GTA not set in America. Obviously, it's sick being set in the USA. It's what it's about. Although it's actually a Scottish company, I think, started this game. GTA, you think America. But I do kind of wish they'd go in that direction more sometimes. I feel like GTA 6 might send you around the globe. The maps will change. There'll be sandbox maps, but it'll be like, oh, you have to go to Hong Kong to do blah blah or something. It'd be sick. So there's a bit of a taster for that, but I never played this, so I can't go beyond D. Maybe I should have just put a new tier for not played it, actually. Can I edit that? Yeah, there we go. And anything I played does deserve to be C tier or above, for sure. GTA 5, the only question is here, does it go in A tier or God tier? It's a very, very good game. I'm going to put it in A tier, but really high. What else can you say about it? It's a grand game. The map was huge. And just unbelievable. The visuals on it, the aesthetic of the game was amazing. The soundtrack was very good, although I think it's bettered by a number of GTAs, to be quite honest, that we're going to get to soon. The story mode, it's a curious one with 5 story mode. Probably is the best story of all the games, I would guess. And the missions have checkpoints, which were a huge advantage. If you didn't have to fucking, if you fail a mission in San Andreas, you have to drive all the way back and start it and so on. But the first time I played through this game, the story mode, I kind of spammed through it and enjoyed it. Then, I don't know why, but in time, not playing the game, I was like, I think the story's one of the weaker things in that. Then I went back and played it again, a second time, and again, really enjoyed it. So, that can't be discounted that I played it again, really enjoyed it, but the fact that I was even thinking that, works against this game, I don't know. A lot of the side stuff in this game are really good, a lot of the collectibles are really good. Then I think of GTA 5, compared to other GTAs that we'll get to in this list, it still seemed a bit hollow. I feel like in the cutscenes there was way too much talking and shit. Like, half the time I'm trying to listen to the radio, I'm like, oh, shut the fuck up. They're talking for like the whole mission and stuff. It has its downsides. Like I said, it felt a bit too big almost sometimes, a bit too hollow. But also it has GTA. Is that marked on here? I'm gonna guess this is GTA Online. I can't even read that. Is that Lost and Damned? That might be Lost and Damned, actually. Yeah, that's Lost and Damned, but is that Chinatown Wars? Hang on, let me zoom in on this. Because I'm wondering whether GTA Online has its own separate thing. We have to do the Uber Zoom here, boys, unfortunately. Oh, yeah, that's the Ballad of Gay Tony. Okay, GTA Online doesn't have its own category, so I'll tell you what. The fact that GTA Online is also part of GTA 5 as well, of course. GTA Online is one of the best GTA games of all time. It's kind of like it is a separate game. It sounds strange to say, but there's so much you can do on that. It's going to push it up to God tier for me. 5 is an incredible game. It's got way more positives. I'm really nitpicking here to give some negatives because of the quality of these games and trying to rank them. But yeah, it's basically 2 games in one there, so it definitely belongs in God tier for me. Next up, GTA 2. I've played before. Classic game, definite improvement on GTA 1. I'm going to put it in B tier. It's hard to compare 1 and 2 in that era game to later games and deciding whether it goes above LCS or not. I think when you're talking about games, you need to be relevant to when they came out. You need context because LCS is 3D, 2 is bird's eye view, top down. Relative to when it came out, it was stronger than LCS was. It came out about, I think it was 8 or 9 years before LCS. I think it deserves to be higher than LCS. In B tier, I think it had its negatives, of course, but it was about as good as it could have got. Bird's eye view, definitely better than Advance. From what I saw of Advance, like I said, I've not played it, but GTA 2 just looked much better. It brought in really good features. There's numerous gangs that would employ you, and you kind of had bars, and you do work for one gang, like the Zaibatsu. Another gang would start getting beef with you, and you'd kind of have to balance the bars and stuff. I thought that was a really good concept. It had the Elvises, of course, the row of Elvises that run along. When I played this, I was most of these GTA's I played young. My mum didn't really care, which is really good actually, because I prefer that. I'd like my kid to play something like this because you kind of they grow up playing it. Do you know what I mean? You have to get wise to the darker side of the world. But the fact that I was so young playing it, maybe I didn't even get all like the jokes in it and stuff as well, and all the references. And I'm sure if I went back and played it now, it'd rank even higher for me. But GTA 2 is pretty solid B plus tier. GTA 3 is going in A tier for sure. I'm putting it in God tier. Again, relative to when it came out, it's aged. I think it's aged pretty well, but I think a lot of people who've never played it will play it, and that's probably the best measure of how well a game's played. Someone who's too young to have played it when it came out then goes back and play it. And I feel like most people feel like GTA 3 aged poorly. There's some frustrating aspects to it. Cars are really weak, so they just get blown up fast as fuck. But man, like there's so few. Like I said, it can be a bit dark. The graphics are a bit dated, but it was PS2. It was 2001. This game was released. They're the only real negatives I can think on this game. There's so many positives. The soundtrack's amazing. Really good. One of my favourite soundtracks in GTA history for sure, and that's saying something. I would say the soundtrack's better than GTA 5, which has plenty more songs, but it's quality over quantity in my opinion. The story is really good in GTA 3. I'm a huge fan of the story in that. The side missions are good, they're fun. There's not so much in terms of like races and stuff, but it still has pretty fun side missions. It's probably the single most revolutionary GTA game of all time, which is what pushed it from A to S tier. Like I said, you've got to give context to the time it came out. GTA 3 is arguably the best GTA in that regard. For 2001, I don't know about that to be fair, because bear in mind a year later was Vice City and 3 years later was San Andreas. But definitely it's the most revolutionary one. It was the biggest jump from 2 to 3. From one GTA game to the next, this was the biggest jump in quality, and it changed the whole series. It was the first 3D game and brought in like the sandbox feel of it and just revolutionized so much of GTA. It was the first game to have unique stunt jumps, for example. Rampage. No, actually, you had rampages in GTA 2, but the rampages in GTA 3 were fucking amazing as well. The characters were amazing. It had cutscenes for the first time. Voice acting was thing in previous GTA games, of course, but you accepted every mission by phone. This one had cutscenes. It's just an amazing game, man. It's so good. I can play GTA 3 like every day and not get bored. I've played through this game. I've 100%ed it again. Oh man, how many times have I complete this game in my life? Like easily 20, and I've 100%ed it 3 times, I think. 2 or 3 times. It's amazing. Very, very good game. Belongs in God tier. I'm going to put it behind GTA 5. It's a bit controversial even for me. But I think just 5, you can't ignore the fact that, well, I'm trying to be relative to when the game come out. 5 does still have a shit ton more content. But 3 is a very, very good game. The original GTA, I'm going to put in C tier. It's really good. You talk about the most revolutionary of all the games and the biggest, most important of all the games. Of course, the first game has to be that, I guess, the most important one. Again, it was bird's eye view, field of view. Just a worse GTA 2, really. The bird's eye view controls worked about as well as you could expect from bird's eye view, to be honest. Most games around that time were bird's eye view, but some of them controlled slightly poorly. Let's say something like Micro Machines controlled well, but then other games didn't control so well. GTA was on the better side for that, for sure. I don't remember a huge amount of the story per se. I don't think the story matters as much in GTA 1 2 compared to future games. It was more about just drop yourself in the city and have fun kind of thing. Not a huge amount more to say about it. Like I said, it was kind of like a stepping stone to GTA 2, and good and solid intro to the series. But say Grand Theft Auto was the only one made, and the series ended there. I wouldn't say it was a remarkable game, but it started the incredible franchise, and it's still a fun playthrough, I would imagine. Been years since I played this as well, but I'd like to play it again one day. VCS is going in B tier. Oh god, not A tier at all. A sidestep of a game again. After San Andreas and that trilogy of 3 Vice City and San Andreas had been made, LCS came out first, and VCS kind of quick fire. And the reason I call them sidestep games is because, while they're still really good, didn't really progress the series too much. I think they were kind of brought out while people were waiting, while they're doing the main production on GTA 4 at the time it was. But VCS is still a really good game. You take control of Vic Vance, who's the brother of Lance in Vice City, of course. And it's got its good missions and stuff. I just don't think it's in the same class as Vice City. Same with LCS and 3. They're released afterwards in the same map. The same potential, but I think they get severely outclassed by their counterparts. I mean, that's fair. I still think 3 outclasses 4 as well, to be fair. Not much more to say about VCS. I think one of the collectibles I remember of note was 99 red balloons, which is my favourite collectible in all GTA games. Although, to be fair, the pigeons in GTA 4 were really sick as well. Yeah, I love that reference to the Nina song. It was initially released on PSP, then PS2 again, like LCS, and probably preferred, because I played it on both, probably preferred the PSP version just because it was handheld. That was like the advantage of it. It also had an online feature on PSP, to be fair, where you could like go off Bluetooth and connect up to like your mates and then do like death matches and stuff. So to be fair, I'm not entirely sure LCS did that. I'm going to put VCS ahead of it on that basis because I think it was an early pioneer of online GTA and a testing ground for 4 where it really became a thing. Yeah, gonna leave it in B tier. San Andreas, for me, goes first for now. But it may well remain first. San Andreas, I think, is one of my favourite games of all time. It's easily top 3, top 5. It's unbelievable. Like GTA 5, of course, has so many more features, so many advantages over it. Although it was released like 9 years after. San Andreas for 2004 was insane. It was an unbelievable achievement. The map's pretty big, nowhere near the map of 4 or 5 or any game that came after, of course. Although I haven't said that, it's still a bigger map than LCS and BTS, to be fair. But like I said, them games were kind of sidestep game. This was a main series game, what I'd call main series GTA. And it's unbelievable. Like, the map was huge for PS2. The 100% this game, by the way, I've 100% of this game twice, at least, maybe even 3 times. I think it's twice. I think GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas I've 100% twice, each of them, because I usually, like, if I play one of them, I play all of them. I kind of do it as a trilogy, because you bracket these three together. Um, it has an unbelievable story, probably my favorite story of all GTA games. The rise of the redemption arc of CJ. Basically, he comes back. He's gone and fucked off. Let Brian die. The gang hates on him. He comes back and the gang's been crippled by drugs and stuff. I love the reference to like real world there as well, like early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, Los Angeles and the surrounding areas when crack became really big and took the streets, and it's around the year of gangster rap, etc. The Speaking of the time it's set, 92. The soundtrack in this game is fucking incredible. It's honestly a toss up between this and Vice City for my favorite GTA soundtrack ever. It's so hard to call between the two. It depends what mood I'm in, really. VC's a lot more upbeat, but San Andreas probably is the most well-rounded soundtrack of any GTA game, I would say. Every radio station is fucking bomb. Like, there's funk on there, there's gangster rap, there's rock, it's just so many. There's Bounce FM is one of my favourite stations of all time. Radio Los Santos, V-Rock. So many, man. There's so many bangers on there. The characters in this game are probably the best characters in any GTA game, I would say. I think it has a definite advantage over Vice City in that regard. And GTA 5, where, some of the characters did annoy me a bit, like Michael. I can stand Michael, for one. CJ was a belter character. Tenpenny was an amazing villain. First time a cop had been the villain, and they really worked. The voice acting in it, the guest stars they had, something they don't do as much in future GTAs. They've gone away from that because I think they don't want people to look at Tenpenny and think, oh, it's Sam Jackson. But I never felt that anyway. I don't mind having guest stars in. And I think some of the characters they got the people they got in to voice these characters were so good and spot on as well. Missions on San Andreas are pretty solid and fun. They're very varied. You have races, you have kind of like rampage style missions sometimes. Oh man, it's just so good. It's such a good game. It's the only game with a jetpack as well. I should point out. I fucking love the jetpack. It had like 4 different forms of collectibles. Like, the oysters are kind of annoying. That was a huge increase on the previous games. Oh, I don't want to wax lyrical. It sounds like a love letter, but San Andreas too long compared to the rest of the games on this list. But it is fucking amazing. It's one of them games, I think, when I first completed it, you kind of sat there for a second or two, like, wow, that game is fucking unreal. Like, I just want to play it again, and I think it did. Yeah, it's probably the GOAT for me of all GTA games. Next up, we had, what was this? Ballad of Gay Tony. Not played it, so not going to waste too much time. Just pop it down there. Now, Vice City. Where does Vice City rank? I'm going to put it second, I think. Again, it's God tier. I'm going to move all of these up, by the way, because GTA games are just sick on there, let's face it. Bam. Like I said, it's soundtrack wise, it's probably like tied with San Andreas for the best. It has a fucking unbelievable soundtrack. It is my favourite game to play in terms of the aesthetic. Vice City, it just looks fucking beautiful. Like, the colours, everything. It's set in Miami, it's bound to be. Oh my god, it just looks fucking unbelievable. It's so like tranquil, just driving around VC. I think the maps are a bit of a downside for VC and VCS, to be honest. As much as I love them in a lot of ways, they're just long and thin, and there's only two main islands, and you have the Leafy Links, Prawn Island, and Star Island in between. They can be a bit frustrating to get up and down. But there's many, many things I love about VC. It's the first 3D game where it's the first GTA game where I had a voice actor for the protagonist. And Tommy Vercetti, in my opinion, is the greatest protagonist in GTA history. His story was sick. I love how you go full Scarface. Like the game's a big love letter to Scarface. I think this one. Numerous references to Scarface, including Diaz's mansion. Later becomes Tommy's mansion. The fact that you basically arrive, work for a guy, kill him. He's like the local drug baron, and then you take over the town. He's just Scarface, man. It brings in, like, for the first time, you take over businesses, that kind of feature, and then empires, kind of like GTA 5. San Andreas did it later on as well, and VCS did it, LCS. Every GTA game, pretty much since, has done features where you take over businesses and you do work for them and make them big. Vice City pioneered that. It was also the first GTA game to have biking, which is huge. Helicopters as well, it had. That's one note I should say for San Andreas as well, actually. It's the first GTA game not just to have jetpack, but planes. Although it still does remain the only GTA game to have jetpack as well, which is fucking criminal. But anyway, back to VC. It brought in helicopters, bikes. Probably of all the GTA games, it's the one with the average greatest car you'll find on the road. And it may sound such a weird thing to focus on, but it's massive. Like, you get you around the map quicker, which is obviously a huge advantage as well. It makes the game better, because you might be like, oh, I want to go and do this, and you just get in there faster, get more shit done. Just characters in Vice City again, the voice acting is just amazing. It's tip top. The side missions are really fucking good. The stadium missions, I think, are probably the best in Vice City compared to all the other games. I love that game. It's fucking unbelievable. And I'd say San Andreas and Vice City are really close. San Andreas takes it for me. Then I'd say there's a pretty big gap, even within God tier. These are all God games. I'd say there's a pretty hefty gap between VC and GTA 5 for me. And then 5 and 3 are pretty close, in my opinion. But then there's kind of a humongous gap after 3 down to 2, and so on. The rest are kind of closer. One other thing to say about VC, I think, that adds to its legendary status, is that of all these games, it's probably the quickest to make. It was released just a year after GTA 3. And when you put it that way, like, it's absolutely outstanding how, like, quality it is. It's unbelievable, man. Like, if you look at GTA 3, it was made in about 2-3 years, which is a huge feat itself, given its sandbox. GTA 5, it took about a year for online to come out. Well, it took them that long to make the whole of Vice City. Like, what a game it is, man. And yeah, I think it deserved to be in the conversation for number 1, but San Andreas takes it for me. Hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Approaching about half an hour, I'm calling it there. Looking at it this way, I actually thought there'd been more that I hadn't played, and 6 of them. Then again, I mean, I've only played 8. So I played just over 50% of GTAs, man. I need to play some of these older ones more again. But yeah, that is the final ranking for me. San Andreas, then Vice City, closely behind. Bit of a gap to 5, closely behind 3. I'd probably tie these. I just love the 3D trilogy. It's quite apparent. Amazing, the best period of GTA in history. GTA 2, pretty big gap from 3 to 2. And we have Vice City Stories, LCS, and the original GTA. These 3 and 8 here, they could have been in any order really, to be quite honest. The original GTA is very good as well, but I think it belongs in B tier. None in C tier, and the rest of them I didn't really play. I would put 4 in C tier because I played bits of it. But whilst I didn't get into it twice, I think it'd be a disservice to definitively rank it because I've seen a small fraction of that game. So yeah, maybe one day I play that. That would be the one of all of these that would get high, I'm sure, if I did get into it, but I just never did. But our GOATs are San Andreas, Vice City, 5 and 3. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. I'll be back with future with a multi-maker tier lists in the future. Go and play some GTA games if you've never played. I cannot recommend them enough. They're fucking amazing, and I'm so excited for GTA 6 when that eventually comes out. I've got a tiny feeling that as much as I love San Andreas, Vice City, etc., GTA 6 will be like unbelievable. Will be number one. But time will tell. We shall see.